Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of The Lock Shop. Nielsen and Hustler, brought to you once again by our friends at Coolbet Canada. When you go to coolbet.com and you sign up, use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up so they know that we sent you. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Nielsen TSN 1260. He's at Hustlerama. And, of course, you can give us a follow at Lock Shop Bets. When we hit 1,000 members, we're going to give away some Lock Shop swag. So you want to get your hands on that. Huss, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?
Well, it's good to chat. I know we missed the show. You were doing the Hockey Helps the Homeless.
Busy day last Friday, yes.
Hey, I was helping the lock shoppers. I figured, without any show on Friday, I better put the picks out. And I'm always worried about, tweeting the picks. That was an absolute hurricane of glory. Leafs, Wild, Oilers, the 6-1 parlay, the Mavs money line. Geelong in the AFL. If it wasn't for my damn Crows, and I have a soft spot for the Crows, the game was a day later. Maybe that screwed up the karma from it. But 6-1. Hopefully you rode with it, and I am ready. Of course, sort of been on off. Really good days, quieter days, good days. Last night had Calgary. Interesting to see. And just basically, quickly as an aside, I don't know whether the Rangers can get back into this and push it to 7. Man. We could have 6 or 7 game 7s in the first round. Like it is that good. I don't know why.
It would be pretty crazy.
It's good. I think that was John Cena speaking in the background.
That popped up. Were you watching wrestling videos again, Huss?
It just came across my timeline. Kevin Owens' debut in the WWE as the NXT champion, and
you fell asleep last night, a little drunk, didn't you? You were watching Kevin Owens' debut videos. Classic.
I don't know. This is what I did this morning when I got up. Get everything, and then as I said,
bowl of cereal, Kevin Owens videos.
That's literally exactly what I was doing, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyways, listen, the playoffs have been great. I think we're going to have a ton of Game 7 action at the end of this. And I think I might honestly be whoever wins these games on Friday might be going the other way in Game 6, because it just seems like we're leading to a couple of the best game days full of Game 7s we've had in a long time. But big game for the folks out in your neck of the woods tonight. Game 5, Oilers Kings. I know we'll get to that in the NHL picks coming up. But, man, I've enjoyed. We haven't had a lot of overtime, which is weird. We had that triple OT game between the Penguins and the Rangers to start things off. But don't think we won't get some before it's all over. And the fact that we might be getting it in Game 5, 6, and potentially 7 scenarios, I think is going to make this, I thought this might be one of the best first rounds we've had in decades, and it's shaping up to be that way if we can go the distance in more of these series.
Yeah, not a lot of overtimes, which really does add to the drama. Huge for Florida to get that late goal and avoid a 3-1 deficit against the Washington Capitals. But you're right. I think these series are shaping up to be some really good, long, hard-fought battles. So it should be a pretty memorable first round on that aspect of it. We're going to get to tonight's plays in the National Hockey League right away. We got a few plays in the NBA tonight as well. We're going to take a look at the AT&T Byron Nelson. We'll get to that. And some CFL Futures from our partners over at Coolbet. Some win totals have been posted as rookie camps are set to open around the Canadian Football League. And before you know it, we will be betting on football on a weekly basis. Once again, I am less than 2 weeks away from calling a preseason game. So we are ready to go with the Canadian Football League. So we got lots to get to, Huss, but let's dive in to the National Hockey League tonight. 4 games once again. I've loved the schedule. 4 games every single night. Nice back and forth alternating so far. And you're on 3 games tonight. I got 2 games that I'm going to hop on tonight. You take her away first, buddy.
Hey, and by the way, first things first, shout out the lock of the playoffs cashed at the earliest possible moment. I mean, those 2 series to go over 6 games, Lightning, Leafs, Blues, Wild. The fact that Game 4 was in the bag of both and it was already in the Coolbet account was very, very nice. I've loved these 2 series. Looking forward to more of them tonight. First off, I'm going to talk with the Bruins and Canes. And I think the Bruins were due to come back and have a couple strong performances at home. They got absolutely manhandled by the Canes throughout the regular season and basically got blown out the first couple games in Carolina. Credit to Boston for getting back in the series. I thought they did get the benefit of a somewhat of an iffy call, which was huge on in game number 4. That being said, I have a lot of faith in the Carolina Hurricanes, despite the goaltending issues that they've got right now, being down to number 3. But there's something about Rod Brind'Amour and the belief that he instills in his team, and not to mention the way they play. And they've got some seriously high-end talent on that Carolina team. I like this game to be Canes in the money line tonight. Listen, I'm not sure. I guess we could potentially go to OT. And if that's the case, then maybe you kind of lean on the quote unquote more veteran goaltender as opposed to the guy. I mean, I realize you're not dealing with, Tuukka Rask or anything on the other side, but I do like the Canes to take the 3-2 lead. I still do think they win this series. And I think they're in a good spot coming home despite losing the last 2 and sort of letting Boston back in the series. But these 2 games, and I guess I'm going, with the favorites, the home teams right now. The one thing I'll say about the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think that at home, they have really come out with some real strong performances. And even in the game 2 that they lost, I love that first period. I mean, I really think that game turned on that bad penalty Kerfoot took and the power play goal with 1.4 seconds left that got Tampa a little bit of momentum. And then that great goal by Corey Perry on that ridiculous stretch pass from Ryan McDonough gave them the cushion. And, hey, listen, they are the champs. They never lose back-to-back games. And I think Toronto knows that as well. They can't lose back-to-back games because if they do, they probably aren't winning this series. I'm on Tampa to win this series, but I'll be honest, as it's gone on and on, I've got more confidence in the Maple Leafs that they might actually be able to get this thing done tonight. No more important game than game 5, maybe outside of the final game of the series. So I'm looking for a big bounce back performance by Toronto. I think this crowd is going to be a big part of it. And that's not something we say about whatever their arena is called now. The former, Scotiabank Arena. It was the ACC. So I would love this number to be a little bit lower. And actually, I did make this pick last night. So we'll see whether it's changed at all right now. No, still at minus 128. But I'm taking the Leafs to get this win, to move within 1 game of eliminating the back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. And then one of 2 things is going to happen. They're either going to win another game, make it to the second round, and erase 18 years of first-round futility, or they're going to blow it. They're going to lose 2 straight to the Lightning and lose in 7 on home ice. And, that'll give both people on either side, if you love the Leafs or hate the Leafs, plenty of content to talk about going forward. And then the Blues and the Wild. I think the Wild are a more complete team. I shouldn't say that. I think the Blues are maybe a more complete team right now, but I do think the Wild have the intangibles, the way they're playing under Dean Evison. And Marc-Andre Fleury needs a big game. Ville Husso was great at the start. They went back to Jordan Binnington. Bottom line is, I don't trust Jordan Binnington at all. I think there is the possibility that he has the FU attitude and goes out there both to his coach that didn't start him at the start of the series and everyone, and shows that he can author another incredible playoff run. But to me, I think this is the Wild's game to lose. I think they get it done at home, minus 152. Hit the money line on those 3 home favorites and taking a parlay at plus 405.
Yeah, I'm going to go head-to-head with you on the Tampa Bay-Toronto game. And you do make some interesting points. I was pretty bullish on Tampa heading into this series as well. And I might be a little bit more worried about that. However, I do think Tampa's just kind of done so far what they needed to do in this series. Like, Tampa didn't have to go out and win game 1. They didn't win game 1. But what they needed to do was win game 2. And they had to get game 2 because you didn't want to fall behind 2-0 in any series. That's not what they've done. That's not how they've had success. So what did they do? They go out, they're up at 1.51 in game 2. Didn't need to get game 3. Lost game 3. And then what did they need to do? They needed to get game 4. They were up 1-0, 60 seconds in. They're up 3-0, 10 minutes in, and they ended up rolling to a victory in game 4. So to me, as I viewed this series, and Toronto in their victories has impressed, and you're not wrong about that start in game 2 either. But I just feel like when Tampa's like, okay, well, we got to have this one. So they went out and got it. We got to have that one. Went out and got it. And I feel like they probably feel like they have to get this one too. They don't want to go home and face elimination against a Toronto team that is certainly explosive. So I think Tampa just goes and gets one tonight. I think that's what Tampa realizes, that this is one of those ones that if they're going to win a series, you got to go check that box. So I'm going to take Tampa, the defending 2-time Stanley Cup champions, who twice have picked up pretty convincing victories over the Leafs in this series. I'm going to take them as a plus 109 dog. You are right. That place is going to be absolutely rocking tonight. But if the Lightning start well, stress levels in that building are going to be through the bloody roof as well. So I'm going to go with Tampa as a dog here at plus 109. I'm going to parlay it with the Oilers at minus 213 at home tonight. The Oilers have done a bunch of things right under Jay Woodcroft, Huss. Two of the things they've done very well are win hockey games at home and bounce back after a loss. And that's what's happening tonight. They're in game 5. I will be very surprised if the Oilers don't win this game tonight. Maybe Mike Smith, who's been pretty steady actually in this series, he got 942 save percentage. Maybe he shits the bed or something, lets in an odd bad goal or makes another mistake like he did in game 1 and it comes back to bite him. But this is a huge game for this group and for this core, right? They've got past the sweep of Winnipeg. Now they're involved in a series against the Kings. This is the biggest game of the series. They either have to face elimination in game 6 or they'll have a chance to finish off the Kings in game 6. They got to get this one tonight. I'm going to believe that Connor McDavid senses that and steps up and has a star player moment like the Crosbys and the Ovechkins and all these guys have done in their careers. So I'm going to roll with the Oilers minus 213, Lightning plus 109 at home. If you parlay it, it's actually plus 207, which is a pretty decent number. So I'm just going to go with the 2 games tonight. One's going to be a parlay at plus 207, but I do like the fact that here we are head to head on the Lightning and Leafs tonight.
You know what? It'll be fun. We haven't done that too often. But I'll say this. This is the game Austin Matthews is going to earn or has to earn his check.
This is that game. Like, kind of like what we're talking about with McDavid here in Edmonton, right? Like same sort of thing.
This is that game. Listen, they had a great game 1. Game 3, the one that they won in was on the backs of like Engvall and whatever the guy that they got Lukashev or Lubashev, maybe I'm screwing up.
Yeah, that's right.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't Matthews, Marner. It sure as hell hasn't been John Tavares. A little appearance from him on the score sheet might help them as well. But hey, you know what? You want to show everyone why you're the Hart Trophy winner this year? Have a big game tonight, Austin. And I would say the same thing for one Connor McDavid. Just quickly on the Oilers. I just thought that the number at minus 213 was too much juice to lay in as part of the parlay. I'm taking them on the puck line. Minus a goal and a half, plus 112. I love Edmonton tonight. I think they get it done as well. I just didn't put that in the parlay because it wouldn't surprise. Like the Kings have impressed me. Game 4 as well. Jonathan Quick's kind of turning the clock back a little bit. So it's a little bit risky. I won't put it in the parlay, but I will have a piece of the Oil minus a goal and a half, win by 2, plus money, plus 112 tonight.
There you go. We got 5 plays for you tonight. One of them head-to-head in that Tampa-Toronto game. And that's just in the NHL. We do have some places we're heading in the NBA as well. And also going a little bit head-to-head here in the NBA tonight. In the 76ers Heat game, you're going to be in the Miami Heat. Getting back at home here, Huss. Tell me why. What's the deal with the Heat tonight?
Well, I put it this way. I mean, I'm impressed that the Sixers salvaged, those games at home and got back into it. And, we'll see. I mean, the injury to Joel Embiid was huge, especially at the start. It seems like he's coming around more. But, the Heat were the number 1 seed for a reason. They've been dominant at home. And I think that they step up knowing that all of a sudden they're right back into a series and avoid the let up that they obviously had when they went to Philly. So at minus 105, minus 3, I could easily just jump on the money line in this one, but I'm back in the Heat. But the game that I'm the most excited about, and I'm not even jumping on the point spread, we're going to take a big, juicy money line at over 2-1, the Dallas Mavericks. And for whatever reason, everyone was high on the Mavs going into the playoffs. And then if you recall, Luka Doncic got hurt. And then all of a sudden they were a big underdog in the first round. We, in our playoff preview, we had that nice bet of that series to go over 6 games, which was plus money that cashed really early. Right now, the way that they came back and played in those games, they've got a ton of momentum. I realize that the Suns are a good team, but I think that this will be close. I think the Mavs have a very legitimate chance to win this game. And if you're going to throw a number of plus 212 out on the board, and I can take Luka Doncic the way he's playing right now and the support that he's getting from the rest of that cast, I am going to be riding with it. So I like the Mavs. Now, they could still lose this series if they win this game. I mean, the Suns are great, and Devin Booker, I think, is coming around from the injury he had earlier on. But I'll tell you what, if you're starting with one player, and we're talking about it's a star-driven league, The star in this series is Luka Doncic. He is capable of doing things almost on his own. I think they've got some great momentum from those 2 home wins. I think Mark Cuban has a smile on his face at the end of tonight, and I hope I do too, with a big, juicy plus 212 money line number on the Dallas Mavericks.
See, and I'm just sticking with the Mavs at plus 6.5. 6.5 points, you're getting almost even money at minus 111. I love that. When I saw your Mavs money line pick in, I was like, okay, like Huss has my back on this one, and he's taking it a little bit further. So we're both riding with Luka. I mean, the whole bloody country knows that I'm a huge LeBron James guy. Like, I just love watching LeBron play basketball. But I had to watch somebody else in this league play basketball. Luka Doncic is that guy. And I know he's not the explosive, high-flying dunker, but he just picks defenses apart. It's amazing. I love watching him play. Not an easy one here against the Suns team. Chris Paul is obviously angry at everything again. So I'm on the Mavs here, plus 6.5 points. And then I'm going to ride with the 76ers and maybe, getting back home here. And it's very interesting how this series has kind of shifted because the Heat at home do well. Then the Sixers go home. They get Embiid back. He doesn't light the world on fire, but at least he's got an inside presence against a Heat team that is not, I'm not going to call them soft, but they're not a team that's going to crash and bang and make things overly difficult for Joel Embiid. Plus, James Harden's coming off a game that he was much overdue for. So that ended up happening. The Heat have not been shooting the ball well. That's kind of the issue with the Miami Heat. I had Jack Armstrong on my show this morning. He was talking a little bit about, the Heat are a team that usually does well because they shoot the ball so well, and they've kind of gone a little bit cold as of late. So I could see the Heat winning a tight one here, but I'm going to go with the Sixers plus 2.5 to keep it close tonight in the NBA. But Mavs Suns is the game that I'm really excited for. That should be a really good game a little bit later on tonight. We are going to take a look at some CFL futures in just a little bit. Some win totals have been laid out by CoolBet, but the one thing that really sucked last week, I know you would have been dealing with this as well, not having the Friday or Thursday episode, or the Tuesday episode was a full NHL playoff preview. We never got golf picks last week, and I got to the end of the week, and I was just like, oh my God, this is killing me.
Yeah, no doubt. Although, and the worst thing about it is that Max Homa is a guy that we both love, Twitter superstar. He had a juicy 50-1 number, and I have a feeling he might have ended up on a card or two for us. I ended up not picking him on the ones that I did. I did a couple last minutes. Usually I spend a lot of time Monday night going into Tuesday getting ready for the tourney. But because we were so locked in on the playoffs and did the show on Monday as opposed to Tuesday last week, it was a little different. That being said, we got one more tournament before the PGA Championship. It's the AT&T Byron Nelson. And I've got a couple of picks. If you look at the board, there's a lot of good players playing in this tournament and, some kind of shorter numbers. Although I'll say this, and once again, shout out to CoolBet, best golf lines. Before they were available at CoolBet, I was looking around and I knew the guys I was picking. I was taking Will Zalatoris and I was taking Leishman. Most of the other books, Zalatoris was 20-1 and Leishman was 50-1. Finally, CoolBet listed them 25-1 and 60-1. So certainly worth the couple extra hours to get the odds up, and a much better number. One of the main reasons why I've always loved betting golf over at CoolBet. So we've got Will Zalatoris, and actually it's funny. Maybe I moved the number or something because last night he was 25-1. Now he's at 22-1. But some pretty impressive names. Scotty Scheffler, who's just been winning everything this year, was 10-1. He's at 11 right now. Justin Thomas at 14. Sam Burns, DJ, and Xander Schauffele at 20. Spieth, Zalatoris at 22. And then Hideki Matsuyama at 27. I think of those guys, I'm rolling with Will Zalatoris. We've talked about this before, and maybe it's FOMO. He is going to win a PGA Tour event very soon. And I think for a number of these other guys, winning or not this week will be, I don't want to say secondary, but it'll be more getting their games and getting prepared for the PGA Championship, the major next week. Will Zalatoris wants to win. He needs to win. He needs to get that PGA Tour title, get him in the Masters, all those other things that we've talked about, although, of course, he's been great at the Masters the last couple of years. So, at a number like 25, even at 22 to right now, it's interesting seeing him in that category with so many greats that have won, but there's a reason for that. I mean, the iron, the ball striking, the consistency, it's all there. He is that close. I want to be on Will when he wins. I think this might be it. So I jumped on him last night at 25-1. And Mark Leishman's another guy that when he gets hot and when he gets into a groove, he can, he's one of the best. He had a terrible week last week at Wells Fargo, as many guys did, missed the cut. I think he comes back with a real strong performance, getting himself ready for the PGA Championship. And if that means he's sniffing around on Sunday at 60-1, I'll be very happy to have him back. And then here's an interesting little stat. And we know, I've always been a fan of a few of the Asian golfers, and maybe this goes back to Y.E. Yang going head-to-head with Tiger back in the day. And of course, Sung J M is one of my favorites. But it's crazy when you look at this tournament, the success that Koreans have had at this event. Sang Moon Bae won it in 2013. Sung Kang won it in 2019. It didn't get played due to COVID in 2020. And last year, KH Lee won it at back-to-back Koreans. So could we have a three-peat for a Korean golfer? I don't want to miss out on that. So I'm going to take Siwoo Kim at 60-1 and maybe a small sprinkle on KH Lee, who's 100-1 as the defending champion of this tourney. He hasn't been very good this year. This won't be a big play. But again, at 100-1, you don't need to make it a big play for that. Zalatoris, my favorite pick. I'm in on Leishman and a little bit of FOMO. And maybe to continue, things happen in threes. 3 straight Korean winners. Why not our guy, Siwoo Kim? I'd probably be on Sung Jae, but he's not in the field this week.
I always had a weird obsession with KJ Choi. I was always like, KJ Choi, he's my boy. Like, I always loved KJ Choi. I don't know where it came from, but I just ended up really liking KJ Choi. It was just something that popped up. All right, you mentioned, some of the names here, some of the numbers. I'm on 2 of the guys who are up near the top, and then one a little bit of a longer shot for this event. Justin Thomas, 14-1 when I threw him on the graphic here earlier this morning. He's been great this season. He just hasn't been able to get it done. He hasn't won in 14 months, but he's second in putting. Birdies are better. T1 in par 4 scoring, and he's third in par 5 scoring. Like, he has been excellent this season. All those numbers, if you would have just hid, the final result come away and looked at the way he's played so far, you would have thought that he already would have won one. So he's been playing extremely well. He's going to get one at some point. Again, with 14-1 here at the Byron Nelson. So I'm going to hop on that. I'm also going to get on Burns. A little bit of different story. He's already won twice this year. And he hasn't actually played, I think, since he teamed up with Billy Horschel in the team event. So he hasn't played in a little while, but he's been playing extremely well this year. So I'm going to get on Burns at 20-1. And then I go with Johnny Vegas, who's paying plus 5,000. And he's been playing pretty well as of late. A little bit of a mix of some decent history of the event and what he's done so far lately. T4, T18, T15 in his last 3 events. And last year at this event, he was T9, ranked 3rd in both distance of all drives and greens in regulation. So he played here well in the past. So Vegas at plus 5,000, Burns at 20-1, and Justin Thomas at 14-1. I will say this. Before I locked in my picks today, I would have been riding with you on Zalatoris, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit. I think a lot of the signs point to Zalatoris. If not here, then soon. And very well could be here, and you got him at a pretty good number. What did you say the numbers moved down to? It was 25-1 on the numbers, but
it's 25-1 last night. It's 22-1 right now. Right. And just a couple of other notes on what you just mentioned. Sam Burns also, he was second last year. He was the runner-up to KH Lee, who basically sank everything and went to, I believe, a record for the tournament, 25 under par, the best score that they've ever had in relation to par at the event. Leishman was a runner-up in this event in 2018, so has done well before. And another guy to look at, just to throw it out, Jason Day. Day's a former winner in here in 2010, was a runner-up in 2017, had a comfortable lead at the Wells Fargo last week and was playing quite well through 36 holes, and then just had a miserable round. Weather was a huge, huge issue last week. But Jay Day's game is sort of coming back right now. He's at 50-1 as well. So if you're looking for another, maybe a little bit of a longer shot to throw a dart at, Jay Day might not be a bad consideration going into the Byron Nelson this weekend, teeing off on Thursday morning.
All right, so there's some golf picks for you. Before we wrap up, we're going to get to some CFL win totals here, East and West, and just anything that jumps off the page. I don't know if you just saw it. I didn't see it since we started. Did you see what Tom Brady's 10-year deal is going to be with Fox? Did you see this number?
No, I just heard it was
okay,
announced
perfect.
he's going to be there.
I'm glad you haven't heard. I want you to guess the number. Okay, so a 10-year deal post-career. Apparently, he's going to sign a 10-year deal with Fox. So the season after he retires, he will be their lead NFL analyst. What do you think the number is?
$200 million, 20 a year.
$375 million for 10 years with Fox.
$2 million a game.
That's $2 million a game. It's essentially close to $2 million a game. I saw this number. How's this, Huss? In his career, he's made $333 million, being the greatest of all time. For 22 years, he's going to make more than that in 10 years sitting in a booth. And he's never even done it. Like, it's wild. My goodness.
He should send a nice little gift basket over to Tony Romo right about now. Because Romo has been so good. And, you know, with that sort of personality, he's sort of really set the bar right now, along with combining personality, experience, all that. And then I'll tell you what, all those rings in the booth are worth something as well. But that, well, no bake sale for Brady this year. He'll have to get by on his own.
He also continues to do everything he can to not spend any time with his family. Remember, he was going to retire, want to be with my family. He was with his family for like not even a month and a half. And now he's back playing football, and now he knows he's committed to 10 years of more football after it. So it's quite the scene, man.
Everyone knows that was a complete scam. He and the Dolphins owner had some shady, underhanded way of trying to get him and Sean Payton to Miami, and it all blew up with the Brian Flores lawsuit. And so I guess if he wants to play, he's going to go back to Tampa. Got Bruce Arians booted out and taking care of things. But he's already looking ahead to future. Be interesting to see whether he plays more than this final year, knowing that there's a spot waiting for him, paying $375 million over 10 years. But hey, I'll tell you what, I'll be looking forward to it. I mean, obviously I've been on the other side of Brady, and he's been a nemesis throughout, but he's the best, and he'll be amazing in the booth, I think, because he does have a great level of humor, I think, self-awareness, and that'll be great for football fans and huge for Fox after losing some of their biggest names over the course of the last 6 months.
There's a reason you're dropping $375 million on a guy who's not even available to you yet, so that's pretty big. With that being said, I'm going to up my ask to do CFL games this year, and we'll see how it goes. All right, CFL team win totals out east. Let's start to the east, and then we'll slide over to the west. Here's the numbers if you're listening to the podcast. Ticats over 9.5, or the numbers have been said. 9.5 wins for the Ticats, 8.5 for the Alouettes, 8.5 for the Red Blacks, and 9.5 for the Argos. Is there anything that jumps off the page here to you, Huss? We're like, we better hammer that now before the line moves.
Well, the only thing that stands out to me is that this is essentially telling us absolutely nothing. I mean, basically, we're talking about an entire division at 500,
it's a dead heat.
Like 8 and 9 or 9 and 8. I guess maybe I would take you could talk me into the over on Hamilton. I mean, I know they've lost a few players, but at even money to go 10 and 7. I mean, I think whoever wins this division, just playing within it, is going to get to 10 wins. I'm a little less sure about what Montreal has coming in. I think Ottawa is going to be much improved, but will they be that improved, getting over 8.5 wins? I'll tell you what, I'm kind of high on the Argos. Maybe it's because our guy Andrew Harris is there. But it is interesting. The over 9.5 is minus 115 on Toronto. So certainly that would tell you that, at least in the book's mind right now, the Argos are the favorite right now to win the East.
Man, I don't know what to make of these numbers in the East. I think, so many teams, like Ottawa's made so many changes. What's that?
It just tells us that they have absolutely no idea.
I think I'd probably be on the under 8.5 with the Red Blacks. And I think I'd probably still be over 9.5 with the Ticats. But outside of that, man, I don't got a hot take for on these win totals in these. Let's see here. I got the West. Let's see if the West is any different. Let's bring up the West here. We've got BC at 7.5, Calgary at 9.5, Edmonton at 7.5, the Riders at 9.5, and the Bombers with the highest total in the whole league at 10.5. Same thing here, Huss, or are you seeing anything else?
Well, no, I mean, I think this indicates a little bit more of a discrepancy between the haves and the have-nots. I mean, the Bombers at 10.5 in a 17-game season. Not surprised you have to lay -120. I think I will take the over on that. I think it's very realistic to see the Bombers going 11-6. The Rough Riders at 9.5 is interesting, just because I think that the other teams are going to be much improved. Well, certainly I think Edmonton will be better. Calgary, I think, will always be in the mix, and you look at them over 9.5 at -133. The BC number is interesting, and I hope it's over, but I'm afraid it might be under. I mean, going in with two Canadian quarterbacks that are relatively unproven.
I really like to see it, but it's a scary proposition, buddy.
It is. Like, they've spent so much money on some of the other positions.
Yeah.
And, but I'll tell you what, I mean, the bottom line is, the other thing is he's basically going up against good teams, good defenses. It's a tough division. So I might lean under on the Lions. I'll roll with the Bombers and go over on the 10.5. And the Edmonton Elks, I guess it's obviously a big number at -139. But, once they figure out that quarterback situation, Chris Jones knows how to win football games. So I think that they will be competitive. And what the heck? Let's stir it up a bit. Give me the under on the Riders, 9.5 as well.
Oh, Winnipeg guy. Classic troll move. I love it. That's how you wrap up an episode of The Lock Shop. No doubt about it. Give us a follow, of course, at Lock Shop Bets. And if you're interested in signing the Lock Shop to a 10-year, $375 million deal, we're all ears. Good for Tom Brady, man. Some people's lives, You're just like, man, this guy just nails it over and over again.
Listen, it's just good to see the guy finally getting a break.
That's true. All he had to do was admit that it was a fumble on the tuck rule game, and sure enough, it's made a huge difference. He talks the truth right now. Huss, Winnipeg Sports Talk, buddy. 10 minutes away. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, well, we got a lot going on today. Moose are back at home facing elimination in the playoffs. Scott Billick from the Sun was out of practice this morning. We'll talk a little bit about that. And let's face it, we had a massive show yesterday, dude. The second that Barry Trotz was fired in New York.
Oh, boy.
Our social feed went crazy. He's been trending for the last, 24 hours in town. It was a huge, huge show. So we will talk more about the prospect and what the Winnipeg Jets would have to do to get Barry Trotz, what that would mean for an organization that has its fair share of dysfunction seemingly right now. Mike McIntyre will join us as well. And Terry Ryan, one of the all-time beauties, is going to join us. He is one of the stars of the new Shoresy show. That's the spinoff of Letterkenny. So Terry Ryan's going to join us to talk about that. And of course, draft lottery. Hate to say it, we didn't even pay attention to the draft lottery the last few years, but now we're part of it. So we'll have to run the sim a few times before the end of the program as well. It's 1:00 on YouTube. Search Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hit that red subscribe button and join us daily at 1 p.m. Central.
And make sure you subscribe to The Lock Shop as well. We'll have another new episode for you on Friday, heading into another weekend where there will be a ton of stuff to bet in the world of sports, as there is pretty much every single day. You can follow him on Twitter at Husserama. I'm a Nielsen TSN 1260. Huss, good luck tonight with your plays and the next few days, and we'll catch up to you at the end of the week, buddy.
Right back at you.